Hello everyone, welcome to the video. Starting today, I am starting a tactical breakdown series for all upcoming Blue Lock matches. So if you are interested, consider subscribing and hit that like button. Anyways, let's get back to video. Today we are breaking down the opening 20 minutes of Japan versus France in the Under 20 World Cup. From chapters 330 to 333. We are going to treat it like a real match analysis. Lineups, how they defend, what happens in transitions, and why France land the first big punch. Let us start with the lineups because the manga actually gives us something very close to a real chalkboard. France are in a 4-4-1 with a single striker. On the whiteboard it is written as 4-5-1, but think of it as 4 defenders, 5 in midfield and 1 up front. Loki is the free-roaming number 9. Behind him, 2 creative midfielders, Charles and Hugo, control the middle of the pitch. Japan are in a 3-5-2, that means 3 center backs, 5 across midfield, and 2 forwards. The partnership of Isagi and Rin leads the line, and fast wingbacks like Chigiri and Bacheera cover the flanks. When Japan attack, the wingbacks push high, so the shape looks more like a 3-2-5. 3 at the back, 2 midfielders in front of them, and a front line of 5. France are the favorites. Their senior national team are world champions. Their under-20 side is called a golden generation, and everyone expects them to go deep in this tournament. Japan, on the other hand, are the experiment, a team built out of Blue Lock, basically a squad full of strikers who just destroyed Nigeria 4-0. Now, the whole world is watching them. Tactically, you have one team that looks polished and complete, and one team that has insane individual talent, but still needs to prove that their structure can hold up against a fully prepared giant. Now, let us look at Japan with the ball in these opening phases. There are 2 big ideas, the Isagi and Rin connection, and the solo weapons like Bacheera and Chigiri. When Japan get a bit of control, they try to build in a very modern way. Early on, you see the back 3 spread out, and 2 midfielders drop in front, forming a 3-2 base. From that platform, the wing backs push higher, and Japan create a front 5. Within that front 5, the most important relationship is Isagi and Rin. Rin stays higher as the main striker, threatening the last line, ready to run in behind or attack crosses in the box. Isagi plays just underneath, as a free number 10. He drifts between midfield and defense, checks his shoulders, looks for pockets of space, and reads where the next gap will open. There is a key sequence where Japan work the ball centrally, and you see Isagi and Rin combining, passing between themselves as they drive straight through the middle. The idea is simple but strong. Create a pattern where either of them can end up as the finisher. If France jump aggressively onto Rin, Isagi can slip through and shoot. If they focus on Isagi's reception, Rin can spin into the space behind. It is a 2-man system where the defense never quite knows which of the 2 is about to pull the trigger. Japan do not just rely on that central pattern. They also lean heavily on their solo weapons. First, Bacheera. He is the dribbler. When the structured pattern gets blocked, the solution is often, give the ball to Bacheera and let him break the shape with a 1 versus 1. His job is to destabilize France, force defenders to step out, and create chaos where Isagi can then read the next opening. Then, you have Chigiri on the flank. Chigiri is all about pace. On the right side, he pushes high, looking to run in behind, stretch the backline, and force France to turn and chase. So if we sum up Japan's early attacking identity, structured build-up through a 3-2 base, dual threat from Isagi and Rin in the middle. Bacheera as the dribbling joker, Chigiri as the pace on the flank. On paper, it is a lot. On the pitch, France have come in with answers. Now flip it. What do France do when they have the ball? In possession, France's 4-5-1 behaves like a very clean 4-3-3. 2 center backs plus Hugo give them a stable base to build from. Full back support, but do not go super high too early. Charles pushes a bit higher from midfield, finding pockets between Japan's lines and looking for passes or shots. Loki stays high, plays on the shoulder, and constantly threatens depth. You can feel the difference in structure. France look like a team where every player knows their lane and stays inside it. Let us talk about France's first big hit because it sets the tone for this whole part 1. France win the ball, and Hugo sends it forward quickly towards the front line. Naturally, everyone thinks the ball, or the move, is for Loki. Loki rushes forward, making a very aggressive run. Japan's defenders and midfielders instinctively lock onto him. They shift as a unit to try and stop the superstar. But while all eyes are on Loki, Charles is moving in the background. He makes a clever run, cutting in behind that distraction. Loki's movement acts as bait, and Charles arrives in the free space. The ball is played into that gap, and Charles hits that nasty gremlin shot. It is their first proper attacking pattern, and it ends as a goal. Japan's players admit that pattern was not in our data. That line says everything. They had prepared for Loki's usual moves, but not for Loki as a decoy, and Charles as the surprise finisher. So tactically, France showed 2 things very early. They are happy to use their star as a distraction, and they have late runners from midfield who can punish you if your attention is only on the obvious threat. One chance, one sequence, 1-0 France. Now we get into the part where France start to squeeze the life out of Japan's main ideas. Out of possession, France defend in that 4-5-1, which often looks like a 4-1-4-1. The block is narrow, compact, and built around one big rule. Do not let Isagi control the game. Whenever Isagi receives the ball in a dangerous central pocket, Hugo steps out aggressively. He closes the distance fast, he uses his body, and he does not allow Isagi to turn comfortably. And this is where Hugo also starts to read Isagi as if he is a scouting report. He talks about how Isagi's shots, this two-gun style, are only truly dangerous when he has time to feint and space to choose his angle. So France flip the script. They engage early, they get physical, and they try to take the choice away from him. Isagi does not get the luxury of calmly setting up his favorite patterns. The moment he looks like he is about to, Hugo is already on him. On top of that, France block his connections. They make sure the nearby passing options, the helpers, are tightly marked. So even if Isagi wants to bounce a quick 1-2 to escape pressure, those options are often closed. Hugo's logic is brutal. If we crush you, and we block the people who help you, your whole team becomes easy to stop. France did not only prepare for Isagi, they also came in with specific matchups for Japan's other stars. Against Bacheera, they use a defender who has clearly studied his dribbling. He mirrors Bacheera's tempo, matches his pace, and adjusts his steps so that every feint is followed closely. Bacheera realizes, this guy studied my style just to cover me. Against Chigiri, they bring in a player who can actually keep up with his speed. When Chigiri tries to burst past on the wing, this defender stays right next to him, stride for stride. For someone whose main weapon is raw pace, that is a huge shock. From Isagi's point of view, you can see the panic building. He looks around and understands that all the tricks up our sleeves have been logically predicted and dealt with. In other words, Japan's early game plan is not failing because it is bad. It is failing because France have seen it all in advance. Japan's defending in this phase is not terrible, but it is constantly under stress. They drop into a 3-5-2 or a 5-3-2 depending on how deep the wingbacks are. The shape is compact, and defenders like Nico and Aiku are able to step out and read danger zones. We see Nico, for example, recognizing the most dangerous spot right after the ball is stolen from Isagi, and getting across to deal with it. The problem is not the basic defending. The problem is transitions. Whenever Japan lose the ball in an attacking phase, the wingbacks are high, the backline can be stretched. The midfield might be ahead of the ball. France immediately try to play forward, either straight into Loki's run, or into one of their midfielders, who can then feed Loki, or another forward runner. So even when Japan are doing some things right, one bad turnover can instantly turn into a counter that targets their weak spots. That is why the early stages feel like France are always half a second ahead. They are not just defending, they are constantly ready for the next chance to break. And this is where Hugo really explains his idea of being second best. This is the moment in the story where the tactics zoom out into psychology and philosophy. You can almost pause the match and just look at his manga panels. Hugo introduces his suitable destiny theory. He says, people are born with certain physiques, personalities, and talents. Not everyone is equal, and not everyone is suited to every role. The most efficient world and the most efficient team is one where everyone lives according to their most suitable role. He looks at his own team like that. Loki is a natural number 1, perfectly suited in body and mind to be the best striker. Hugo himself says he wants to be the world's second best. The one who understands the number 1, supports him, and pushes him even higher. Here is the important part. Hugo is not saying give up. He is saying accept the role where your strengths make the whole system better. And then he turns this lens onto Isagi. Hugo argues that Isagi is not suited to being the main striker. He sees him as someone who is more naturally a second best. Someone who should sit just under the top, control the game, and move the pieces. Instead of trying to be the piece that always takes the shot, he even breaks down victory like a simple formula: talent, environment, and that last 1% of luck. In his mind, Blue Lock Japan have been surviving off that last 1%, which is basically Isagi's in-game reading and wild imagination. So Hugo's game plan is this. Remove that 1% by turning Isagi into a predictable, nervous player, and the whole structure falls apart. By the end of this part 1 window, you can see the cracks. Isagi is being told to his face that without his special shots he is just below average. He feels the pressure of being the center of attention. He starts to question his own role, his own destiny, and that is exactly where France want him. So, to wrap up part 1 of this breakdown, France start in a very stable, role-correct 4-3-3. Japan have a bold high-ceiling 3-5-2 built around Isagi and Rin, plus solo monsters like Bacheera and Chigiri. France land the first big blow with a goal where Loki acts as bait, and Charles finishes from the blind side. Out of possession, France execute a clear anti-Isagi plan, and specific counters for Bacheera and Chigiri. Japan's early attacking patterns, the ones that work so well against Nigeria, are systematically shut down. France's structure and Hugo's logic look superior in these opening 20 minutes. Japan are not finished, but they are clearly on the back foot. The big question now is this. Can they find a new attacking pattern, one that does not rely on the old Isagi-centric formula, without completely betraying what Blue Lock stands for? That is exactly what we will get into in part 2. We will talk about how players like Karasu and Hiyori start to reshape Japan's attack, and how the whole idea of world's best second best turns from an insult into a tactical solution. If you are still watching, thanks for sticking with me. Drop a comment if you want more of these, and I will see you in part 2.